The night was quiet on Earth. Cities shined with lights, oceans moved calmly, and people dreamed of tomorrow. No one knew that tomorrow would never be the same. Far above, beyond the edge of the solar system, something huge moved in the dark. It was not a comet. It was not an asteroid. It was a fleet. Ships larger than mountains, glowing with strange energy, sliding silently through space. They belonged to the Galactic Empire, a power so old and vast that even the stars seemed to bow before it. For thousands of years, they had ruled the galaxy. Now, their eyes had turned to Earth. The first signal was simple. It was not in English, not in any human language. It was a sound that shook radios and satellites, a sound that made no sense. But hidden inside it was a message: submit or be destroyed. At first, governments thought it was a joke, maybe hackers or a strange cosmic wave. But then the sky tore open. Over New York, over Beijing, over Moscow, over London, massive shadows covered the sun. Alien ships floated in the sky, black and silent, so large that skyscrapers looked like toys beneath them. People screamed. Some prayed. Some ran. The world stopped. The Empire did not wait. A single beam of light fell on the Pacific Ocean. In 1 second, an entire island vanished. Boiled water, rising steam, nothing left. No warning. No negotiation. Just power. A message written in fire: Earth was weak, and Earth would kneel. But humanity is strange. Fear was there, yes. Terror filled the streets. Yet behind that fear, something else woke up. Anger. Defiance. A voice whispered inside every human heart: we will not kneel. In underground bunkers, leaders argued. Military generals shouted about nuclear strikes. Scientists begged for time to study alien tech. Some said surrender was the only way to survive. But in the middle of chaos, something happened. A single broadcast appeared across the world. It was not from any government. It was not from any leader. It was from a small space station orbiting Earth. A tired engineer, face pale, eyes burning with determination, hacked the frequency. His voice was rough, almost breaking. They want us to kneel. But listen, humanity does not kneel. We fight. We always fight. Remember history. Remember every time someone thought they could break us. We stand. We fight back. We are one. For a moment, silence followed. Then, across Earth, people cheered. Soldiers, farmers, students, children, hearts burned. The world was no longer broken into nations. Humanity had one name, one banner, one war. The Empire did not expect this. They had crushed 100 worlds. Each time, fear was enough. A single strike, and planets bent to their will. But Earth was different. Humans were different. Instead of bowing, they bared their teeth. Instead of silence, they roared. In secret labs, scientists unlocked old projects, weapons thought impossible. In naval bases, submarines were turned into space launchers. In deserts, rockets rose, not for exploration, but for war. Old rivalries fell. Enemies became allies. Humanity had been divided yesterday. Today they were united. Still, the enemy was vast. The Empire's ships carried weapons that could shatter moons. Their shields could drink fire. Their armies were countless, bred for war over millennia. Against such power, what could Earth do? The answer came not from technology, not from weapons, but from the human spirit. Humanity had something the Empire did not understand: desperation mixed with hope. When humans were pushed into a corner, they did not break. They became dangerous. As the first human ships lifted into orbit, rusty and fragile compared to alien giants, the Empire laughed. To them, this was nothing but a dying animal struggling before death. They had no idea that this was only the beginning. Because humanity carried something invisible, something stronger than shields and beams. They carried rage. They carried unity. And when billions of voices shouted the same words, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. We will not kneel. The war for Earth had begun. But deep in the Empire's flagship, far beyond Earth's orbit, an alien commander frowned. His kind had seen countless rebellions, countless uprisings. All crushed, all forgotten. Yet, looking at Earth's defiance, he felt something he had never felt before. For the first time in his long life, the commander of the Empire felt fear. The first strike from Earth was small. Too small, the Empire thought. A swarm of human rockets, old machines built for exploration, now carrying warheads. They rose from hidden silos, submarines, deserts, and mountains. The alien commanders did not even bother to defend. They watched with cold amusement, certain the weapons of Earth would do nothing. But then, something happened. The rockets did not aim for the massive warships. Instead, they exploded in the upper atmosphere, releasing millions of tiny fragments, metal dust, nanoscopic shards, clouds of chaos. In seconds, the alien ships found their sensors blinded. Their shields hummed. Their targeting systems cracked. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's fleets could not see clearly. Humans had no great technology, but they had cleverness. They knew they could not match alien weapons, so they fought with trickery. In the middle of the confusion, Earth struck again. From hidden bases, old satellites woke. Lasers not made for war now fired with new purpose. They cut into the engines of a cruiser. A ship the size of a city shook, fire spreading across its hull. The Empire's laughter ended. For the first time, one of their ships burned. On Earth, cheers filled the air. In bunkers, in homes, on radios, the news spread like fire. We hurt them. We can fight. The Galactic Empire roared back. Beams of light rained down from orbit. Cities were scarred, oceans boiled, mountains cracked. Millions died in hours. Humanity cried, but humanity did not surrender. Instead, the attacks made them angrier, stronger. Underground, scientists worked without sleep. Engineers tore apart alien wreckage. Soldiers trained with new weapons made in secret. Hackers dived into alien signals, turning their own codes against them. Humanity was learning. Every hour, they grew sharper. Every day, they grew more dangerous. The Empire, however, was still vast. Their commander sat inside his throne of glass and iron, watching Earth with cold eyes. To him, humanity was a wild animal, a dangerous one, but still only an animal. He would crush this resistance like he had crushed 100 others. Yet deep inside, he could not forget that strange feeling. The human roar echoed in his mind. The second human strike was bolder. In the silence of night, 3 experimental ships rose from Earth. They were fragile, built in secret, powered by engines not meant to last. But they carried something new, technology stolen from alien wrecks, rebuilt by human hands. The ships were clumsy, yes, but deadly. Their target was not the enemy's weapons. Their target was pride. The 3 human ships charged directly at the largest alien cruiser, a ship older than human civilization itself. Everyone thought it was madness. The alien shields glowed like suns. One hit would erase the human ships. But humanity had already learned a truth. The Empire was not invincible. The first ship burned, struck by alien fire. The second exploded, a star of flame in the night. But the third, broken and smoking, made it through. Its captain, a woman with a scar across her face, gave her final order. She smiled as she pushed her ship into the enemy's hull. The explosion was so bright that people on Earth saw it like a second sunrise. When the light faded, the alien cruiser, the pride of the fleet, was gone. The galaxy shook. In the Empire's command halls, whispers spread. Never before had a primitive world destroyed a ship of the fleet. Fear grew in places where fear had been forgotten. The commander's claws trembled as he gripped the arm of his throne. He tried to deny it, but the truth was clear: humanity was different. On Earth, the people wept for the lost ships, for the brave who had given their lives. But behind their tears, A fire burned stronger. If 3 ships could destroy a cruiser, what could 300 do? What could 3,000? The war was no longer a fight for survival. It had become a promise. Humanity would not stop. Humanity would rise. Far beyond Earth, other worlds watched. Hidden colonies, broken planets under the Empire's chains, heard the news. A whisper began to spread across the stars: Earth fights back. Earth dares to stand. And with that whisper came hope. The Empire had ruled through fear. Now, for the first time, fear turned against them. The commander of the fleet rose from his throne and gave a single order: burn their world. Leave nothing alive. The war was about to become worse than anyone could imagine. But the humans did not shake. They did not kneel. They prepared. Because they knew something the Empire did not understand. When humanity fights with its back to the wall itself begins to crack. And the stars would soon learn what it meant to face a united Earth. The Empire's order was simple: destroy Earth. From orbit, their warships prepared. Giant cannons glowed with energy, beams strong enough to break a planet. The commanders believed it would end quickly. No more resistance. No more humans. Just ashes floating in the dark. But humanity was ready. For weeks, in secret tunnels and hidden bases, scientists had worked like madmen. They knew Earth could not match the Empire ship for ship. But they had found another way. They had built something not seen in the galaxy before. A weapon born not of alien design, but of human desperation. It was not elegant. It was not beautiful. It was brutal. When the Empire fired its first planet killer beam, Earth answered with silence. For a moment, it looked as if nothing had happened. The alien commander laughed. But then, his smile froze. His ship's weapons flickered, screens glitched, and navigation systems crashed. The humans had unleashed their new weapon, a virus. Not a biological one, but a digital plague, designed by hackers who had spent sleepless nights inside dark rooms. It had slipped into alien code through broken signals, crawling like fire across their systems. The mighty ships of the Empire stuttered and stumbled, blind and crippled. In that moment of chaos, Earth struck again. Hidden nuclear missiles, old weapons thought useless in space, now guided by the virus, smashed into alien hulls. Explosions filled the sky. 2 cruisers broke apart, scattering burning fragments across the upper atmosphere. For the first time, humanity had not just resisted. They had humiliated the Empire. On Earth, hope rose like a storm. Crowds cheered in bunkers, soldiers roared in bases, children lifted their fists. Humanity's voice was louder than fear. But in the Empire's throne room aboard the flagship, silence fell. The alien commander stared at the reports with disbelief. A primitive world had wounded the fleet. Not just wounded, it had shamed them. He slammed his clawed fist against the control panel. Enough games. Erase them. The order spread. Thousands of Empire ships began to move. This was no longer a campaign. This was genocide. But before the Empire could strike, Earth sent its own message across the stars. It was not from a president, not from a general. It came from a simple room in a hidden bunker, spoken by the same engineer who had once shouted that Earth would never kneel. His face was pale, his voice calm, but his eyes burned like fire. To the Empire, he said, his words echoing across the galaxy. Listen carefully. You think we are weak. You think we are nothing. But you forget, we are human. And when humans are cornered, when you threaten our children, our homes, our world, we do not surrender. We burn the sky. He lifted a small black device, showing it to the galaxy. We have armed every nuclear weapon on Earth. If you destroy us, if you set fire to our planet, we will take everything with us. We will turn Earth into a sun, and your fleet will die in its light. You may kill us, but you will never rule us. The words struck like thunder. Across Earth, people gasped. Across the Empire, commanders froze. The aliens had crushed worlds for millennia, but never had a species threatened everything. their enemies, themselves, and even victory. Humanity had drawn an unthinkable line: if we fall, you fall with us. The galaxy listened in silence. The alien commander's claws trembled. He wanted to laugh at the madness. But deep inside, he knew this was not a bluff. Humans were reckless enough, desperate enough, to do it. He had seen their ships crash into his cruiser, pilots smiling as they died. He had seen their courage burn brighter than fear. He knew they would keep their promise. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire hesitated. On Earth, the ultimatum spread through every screen, every radio, every voice. Humanity stood as one, not begging for life, but daring the galaxy to test them. The stars shook that day. Not from weapons. Not from fire. But from the raw will of a single world, daring to defy an empire. The war was far from over. The Empire still had countless fleets. Earth was scarred and bleeding. But in that moment, the galaxy had changed. A new legend was born, one that whispered through every corner of space: Earth does not kneel. Earth gives ultimatums. And far away, on hidden worlds where oppressed species listened in silence, hope flickered like a spark. If humans could stand against the Empire, maybe they could too. The alien commander bared his teeth, rage and fear mixing in his chest. Very well, he growled. If they want war, they will have war. And with those words, the stars prepared to burn. The Empire came with fire. From the blackness of space, their largest invasion fleet in centuries arrived. Thousands of warships, more than humanity could count, covered the stars until night itself vanished. Earth's skies glowed red as their cannons prepared. The alien commander had no more patience. No more warnings. He wanted humanity erased. The first wave struck like a storm. Orbital beams rained down. Oceans boiled, mountains shattered, cities burned. From orbit, Earth looked like it was bleeding. The Empire believed it was only a matter of hours before the planet turned to dust. But the humans had been waiting. When the invasion began, the world did not scatter. Instead, it moved as one. Humanity, once divided by nations and borders, now fought as a single species. Old enemies shared weapons. Rivals fought shoulder to shoulder. The word Earth was no longer just a planet. It was an army. The Empire's ground troops landed in waves, towering soldiers bred for war, machines that could crush tanks, and walkers that moved like mountains. But they were met not by fear, but by fire. From the ruins of cities, humans rose. Guerrilla fighters ambushed convoys. Engineers turned construction machines into armored beasts. Farmers used old tractors to drag rocket launchers into fields. Every street, every alley, every forest became a battlefield. The aliens had expected surrender. Instead, they found nightmares. In the burning remains of New York, a group of children sent drones packed with explosives under alien tanks. In the deserts of Africa, tribes united to trap entire columns in shifting sand. In the frozen wastes of Siberia, soldiers drew alien machines onto thin ice and watched them sink into the abyss. Humanity turned every weakness into a weapon. The Empire won battles, yes. But they never broke the humans. Every loss only made Earth angrier. Every fallen city became a trap. Every destroyed village became a graveyard not only for humans, but for aliens too. And above it all, Earth's space fleet grew. They had begun with only scraps and desperation. But now, shipyards hidden in caves and mountains built new warships every week. Small, ugly but fast. Ships that carried nuclear fire. Ships that carried courage. The second wave of battle began not on Earth, but above it. Human ships launched in swarms, like angry bees. They darted between massive alien cruisers, too small to be tracked, too reckless to retreat. Each one carried weapons that should not have worked in space, but did because humans forced them to. One by one, Empire ships began to fall. It was not clean. It was not easy. Thousands of humans died. But for every ship that burned, another rose. For every pilot lost, 10 more stepped forward. Humanity was not running out of fighters. They were multiplying. On the flagship, the alien commander raged. He watched his fleet struggle against enemies who should not have lasted a day. He could not understand. Logic said Earth should already be ash. Power said resistance was impossible. Yet here they were, bleeding, dying, but fighting with a fury that tore holes in his empire's pride. Then, something happened that changed the war. The humans broadcast again. Across every frequency, every channel, a single message filled the stars. Not just to the Empire, but to the galaxy. This is Earth. You think we fight only for ourselves. You are wrong. We fight for everyone who has ever been crushed by your empire. We fight for every world you burned, every people you enslaved. We will not stop. If you want our extinction, come and take it, but know this, you will bleed for every step. You will burn for every city. You will never forget the day you chose to fight humanity. The words echoed across the galaxy. And somewhere, on distant worlds, slaves lifted their heads. Broken peoples clenched their fists. The whisper spread again, Earth resists. Earth fights for all of us. The alien commander heard the cheers rising not just on Earth, but across worlds he thought silent. His claws tightened. He had wanted to make an example of Earth, to show the galaxy the price of defiance. Instead, Earth had become a symbol of hope. The invasion continued, brutal and endless. But the Empire had already lost something far greater than ships. They had lost fear. The galaxy no longer trembled only before them. Now, the galaxy trembled with them, because they knew Earth had awakened something unstoppable. And in the smoke and fire of battle, humanity's promise grew louder, burning into the hearts of billions. We do not kneel. We rise. The war was no longer just for Earth. It was for the stars themselves. The war for Earth burned on, but the galaxy had already changed. For thousands of years, the Galactic Empire had ruled with iron and fire. Planets obeyed in silence. Species bent their knees without question. Fear had been their weapon, and fear had never failed. Until now. Because one world, small, fragile, young, had done the impossible. Earth had stood. Earth had bled, but it had not knelt. And the galaxy was watching. On a mining world at the edge of the spiral arm, slaves gathered in the shadows. Their bodies were thin, their eyes hollow from years of chains. But when the human message reached them, "We do not kneel," something broke inside. A whisper spread through the minds, "If Earth fights, why not us?" On another world, a people long thought extinct lifted stolen weapons. Their elders spoke of vengeance, their children spoke of freedom. They had been crushed once, but now they saw fire rising again. They swore to join it. Even within the Empire's own fleets, cracks began to form. Low-ranking officers stared at the human broadcasts and wondered if perhaps the Empire was not eternal. Some remembered their homeworlds, the ones stripped of freedom long ago. And for the first time, they dreamed of rebellion. Earth did not know this yet. Humanity was still fighting for survival. But their defiance had lit a spark that no one could put out. On Earth itself, the war was brutal. Cities lay in ruins, millions were dead, yet the people fought on. Every child knew the sound of sirens. Every family had lost someone. But no one surrendered. In the ruins of Paris, survivors turned the catacombs into a maze of traps. Alien troops that entered never came back. In Tokyo, engineers turned subway tunnels into missile launch pads. In the mountains of South America, guerrilla fighters struck and vanished, striking again the next night. Humanity had become a planet of warriors. Above, their fleets grew bolder. The Empire still had more ships, larger ships, stronger ships. But the humans had something else. They had creativity. They fought with chaos. They used tricks no machine could predict. They turned garbage into weapons, failure into victory. One battle changed everything. The Empire sent a dreadnought, a ship so massive it could crack moons. It was supposed to break Earth's defenses once and for all. Instead, humanity turned it into a grave. Using stolen alien codes, hackers took control of its targeting systems for just a few seconds. It was enough. The dreadnought's main cannon fired not at Earth, but at another alien cruiser beside it. In seconds, chaos spread. Ships turned on each other. Some commanders believed betrayal was at hand. Some fired blindly. And in that storm of confusion, human fleets struck. When the smoke cleared, the dreadnought was gone, ripped apart by human fire and its own allies' mistakes. Across the galaxy, the story spread faster than light. The Empire had lost a dreadnought to humans. To Earth. On distant worlds, the whisper became a roar. Entire planets began to rise. Slave revolts shook colonies. Hidden resistance cells struck at Empire bases. The galaxy was burning, and Earth had lit the match. But victory came with a price. On Earth, the losses grew heavy. Entire cities were gone. Forests turned to ash. Oceans filled with wreckage. Humanity had survived the invasion, yes, but the cost was unbearable. In a bunker deep under the ruins of London, human leaders gathered. Soldiers, scientists, survivors. Their faces were tired, their voices rough. But their eyes still burned. They knew the truth. This was no longer just Earth's war. It was the galaxy's war. The engineer who had spoken to the stars stood once more before the cameras. His voice, cracked with exhaustion, carried across the stars. To every world, to every people, he said, we are not fighting only for Earth. We are fighting for you. If you rise now, if you fight now, together we can break the Empire. But if we fall, if you stay silent, then you will live in chains forever. Choose. Galaxy. Stand with us, or die with them. The message was clear. The ultimatum was no longer only for the Empire. It was for everyone. And in the darkness between the stars, rebellions answered. Signals of defiance echoed back to Earth, one after another. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was screaming for freedom. The alien commander aboard the flagship watched in fury. His fleet was still powerful, yes. But the cracks were spreading. What had begun as a war to crush one world was becoming something much greater. For the first time in the Empire's long history, the commander realized he was not just fighting humans. He was fighting an idea. And ideas could not be burned. The war for Earth had become a war for the galaxy. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Across dozens of star systems, sparks of rebellion burned. Slave worlds rose. Broken species took up arms. Old enemies of the Empire whispered of freedom. And at the heart of it all stood Earth, scarred, bleeding, but unbroken. For the first time in history, humanity was not fighting alone. The first to answer Earth's call were the Korans, a reptilian people enslaved for generations. They were small compared to humans, but fierce. On their mining world, they slaughtered their overseers and sent a message to Earth. We fight with you. Next came the Thrini, a bird-like species once known for their songs. The Empire had silenced them for centuries. But when they heard Earth's message, their voices rose again, not in music, but in war cries. They turned their wings into blades and their voices into signals of rebellion. One by one, more came. Not mighty fleets, not armies like the Empire's, but sparks. Sparks that, when joined, became fire. Humanity welcomed them. For the first time, human ships flew side by side with alien ones. In orbit above Earth, a council formed, not of nations, but of species. Their faces were different, their languages strange, but their goal was one. Freedom. The Empire laughed at first. To them, this alliance was pathetic. Scattered rebels, weak ships, broken weapons. Against the might of the fleet, they were nothing. But the humans understood something the Empire never could. Alone, they were weak. Together, they were unstoppable. The first test came at Vega Prime, an industrial world under heavy Empire control. The Empire had thought it untouchable. But the new alliance chose it as their first strike. Human fleets launched first, fast and reckless, drawing enemy fire. Behind them, Quran raiders boarded ships, their claws tearing through steel. From the skies, Threeny wings cut down drones with blinding speed. And from Earth itself came something new. Ships built with alien tech fused with human ingenuity. Ugly, patched together, but deadly. The battle was chaos. Human ships burned. Alien allies fell. But for every loss, another rose. The Empire, so used to fighting broken enemies one by one, suddenly faced a wall of united rage. In the end, Vega Prime fell, not to the Empire, but to the Alliance. Its factories no longer built weapons for tyranny, but for freedom. The galaxy shook again. For the first time, the Empire had lost a major world. Not to another empire, not to another power, but to rebels led by humans. On Earth, celebrations roared. Not just because of victory, but because the impossible had happened. Humanity had built an alliance. Different species, once strangers, now stood shoulder to shoulder in war. But victory brought danger. In the throne room of the flagship, the alien commander seethed. His empire was cracking, and he knew why. Earth. Humanity. A world that should have been crushed had become a banner for rebellion. And now the fire was spreading. He would not allow it. The commander ordered something terrible. Project Silence. A weapon never before used, designed not to destroy planets, but to erase voices. Entire populations could be silenced, their screams cut from existence, their histories erased. If rebellion spread through hope, then the Empire would kill hope itself. When humanity learned of this weapon, fear struck for the first time in months. But instead of retreating, they prepared. On Earth, engineers worked night and day. On Quran mines, warriors sharpened their claws. On Threeny worlds, voices rose in defiance. The alliance was no longer fragile. It was strong. Strong enough to face even the Empire's darkest weapon. In the ruins of Berlin, now turned into a command center, the human engineer once more stood before the cameras. His voice was tired, but it carried across the stars. "They think they can silence us," he said. "But listen well, we are not one voice. We are millions. We are billions. You cannot silence us all. You cannot erase freedom. You cannot erase humanity. And you cannot erase what we have become, an alliance of the free." His words spread faster than the Empire's ships. Faster than their fear. Faster than their silence. And across the galaxy, more voices joined. Weak, strong, broken, hopeful, it did not matter. They joined. The Empire had faced rebellions before. But this was no rebellion. This was something new. Something vast. This was unity. And unity was a weapon the Empire could not control. The war for Earth was becoming a war for the galaxy's soul. And soon, the stars themselves would burn with the fire of freedom. The galaxy was burning. World after world rose in rebellion. Chains were broken. Slave camps turned into fortresses. Songs of freedom filled the stars. At the heart of it all, one word echoed everywhere: Earth. But the Empire was not dead yet. The alien commander, desperate and furious, gathered the last great fleet. Thousands of warships, more powerful than anything seen before, moved like a tidal wave through space. Behind them came the silence weapon, a machine so massive it had its own gravity, built to erase entire civilizations. This was the final strike. The Empire would crush the Alliance in one blow. The humans and their allies knew it. If they lost here, there would be no second chance. Every species, every world, every voice would fall into silence. So they prepared. In the orbit of Earth, the largest fleet in human history stood ready. Not just humans, but Quran raiders, Threeny flyers, and dozens of other species who had joined. Their ships were not perfect. Some were broken. Some were barely holding together. But together, they formed something the Empire had never faced before, a united galaxy. The battle began at the edge of the Sol system. The Empire came first, their dreadnoughts glowing with death. Their cannons fired, and whole swarms of Alliance ships vanished in seconds. The Silence Machine began to charge, its core pulsing with black light. But humanity did not retreat. The first wave of human fighters rushed forward, reckless as always. They darted between enemy fire, sacrificing themselves to blind the dreadnoughts. Behind them, alien allies struck with strange weapons and wild courage. The sky became a storm of fire. 4 hours, the battle raged. Ships shattered. Stars themselves seemed to tremble. Earth shook as fragments of wreckage fell through the atmosphere. And then, the Silence weapon fired. A wave of black energy spread across space. Alliance ships screamed and fell quiet, their systems dead, their voices gone. Whole fleets were silenced in seconds. The alien commander smiled. Victory was close. But humanity had one last secret. Deep inside Earth, in bunkers hidden since the first days of war, lay a weapon of their own. Not elegant. Not clean. Brutal like humanity itself. They called it the Last Dawn. A weapon built from nuclear fire, stolen alien cores, and human rage. When the Silence wave reached Earth, the Last Dawn activated. The engineer, the same man who had spoken to the galaxy so many times, stood at its controls. His face was pale, his voice steady. He knew what would happen. He knew he would not survive. But his eyes burned like the sun. "This is humanity's answer," he said. "You wanted silence. We give you thunder." And then he fired. The Last Dawn exploded like no weapon before. Not just light, not just heat, it was fury made into fire. A wave of energy ripped through the Silence weapon, tearing its core apart. The machine screamed as it collapsed, sucking in the dreadnoughts around it. Entire sections of the Empire's fleet vanished into fire and gravity. For the first time, the Empire's final weapon was destroyed. The galaxy roared. Alliance fleets, broken but alive, charged forward. Humans, Korans, Thrini, and countless others struck together. Dreadnoughts fell. Cruisers burned. The flagship itself was surrounded. On its throne, the alien commander raged. He had ruled for centuries. He had broken worlds. He had never known fear. But now, as human ships pierced his defenses, as alien allies boarded his halls, he felt it, the same fear he had once mocked. The doors to his chamber burst open. A team of humans stood there, armor cracked, weapons smoking, eyes burning. They did not bow. They did not speak. They simply raised their rifles. The commander snarled. "You are only humans." The leader of the team stepped forward. His voice was calm, steady, final. "We are humanity." And then the war ended. When the smoke cleared, the galaxy was different. The Empire was gone. The Silence weapon destroyed. The flagship broken. And in its place stood something new, an alliance not of chains, but of choice. Earth, though scarred, had survived. Humanity had not only defended its world, but changed the stars forever. No one forgot the cost. Billions were gone. Cities lay in ruins. The engineer who fired the Last Dawn never returned. But his words lived on. "We do not kneel." Across the galaxy, those words became law. No empire would ever again hold the stars in chains. No species would ever again rule by fear. Because one small world had dared to fight. One small world had given an ultimatum. And the stars had listened. Humanity had risen. And the galaxy would never be the same.